morning, starting up yoga therapy ball class. So at the studio, those of you that have joined me know that we use the first and third Friday of the month. We use yoga therapy balls we have at the studio. So at home, we're gonna have to grab what we can. I have lacrosse balls at home, and they're my favorite kind of like density. They're not as squishy as like a racquetball, or not as like uncomfortable, kind of awkward like a tennis ball. Tennis balls work in a pinch. The yoga, actual company yoga therapy, Yoga Tune-Up or something that we got the therapy balls from at the Apple, is just one of many companies that sell therapy balls these days. So I put 2 in a sock and then just tie them up. A lot of this class you can do without the therapy balls. We'll do some stretching or just stretch through a section if you don't have the therapy balls with you today. And then you can come back to this video later when you do have a set. If you're doing a masked run to the grocery store, sometimes in a bigger box store like a Walmart or Target or Fred Meyer, they'll have a sports section, and many of those will have some kind of ball that you can use as a therapy ball. So joining us, we're gonna have padding like a blanket and probably something like a block we'll get to. For the first part with the neck, we're definitely gonna use a block. I have like a really thick book that's like the complete works of Shakespeare that you can use also. It's about that thick. So you can use the therapy balls on top of a big book, or a makeshift block. This is packing. If you haven't seen one of my videos, this is like packaging foam, styrofoam, and I've wrapped it in duct tape. So DIY yoga with Shannon. So come on to your mat, and we're just gonna take a few moments on our backs to breathe and relax. Get present, kind of connect with something other than all that's going on in your life right now. Just be right here and right now. So rolling onto your back. You can put the blanket under your knees if you want, or you can just set it off to the side for now. Using the therapy ball and the block in just a minute. So rolling down onto your back. You can bend the knees, you can lay out flat on the mat. Turn your palms up. Breathe in. See if you can feel the breath expanding the ribs. Aware of your ribs, the chest part of the ribs, the lower lobes of the lungs. And then exhale, nice and slow. Inhale, filling up the lungs. Feel it in the sides of the ribs, push into the back of the lungs. And breathe out. Now we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth if you weren't already. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. And then returning to a regular breath. Take your feet a little wider than your hips and rock side to side, windshield wiper. Back to center. And then if you'd like, before we get started with the neck, roll in, knees to chest, tuck. Maybe tuck your chin in, push through the hands, and roll it back down. So when we bring the block and the therapy balls under our neck, that's a common place for people to need a massage, for people to need a little bit of mobility help. So just bring it right underneath the curve of the neck first, centered, one therapy ball on either side of the spinous process, the pointy bits of the spine that stick down. They're going to come right between the two therapy balls. And then scooch things up, so whatever this flat surface is, a book or a styrofoam or a yoga block, you're going to roll the therapy balls up to the occipital ridge of the skull. So it tucks right up there at the top of the neck and the back of the head. We're going to find that little groove. Equal out the therapy balls on either side. And then look up and down. Make sure this surface that the therapy balls are on is flat and stable. And then looking to the right, all the way to the right. So those therapy balls are going to just catch up underneath the neck muscles that attach on the back of the skull. So from here all the way to the right, you can either look up or down too, depending on where those knots and tight points are in the muscles. Right here, looking up or looking down. So just a little reminder that if you feel any kind of nerve sensation pain or any kind of discomfort that you're worried about, back away from whatever we're doing until you can get to a practitioner that's going to really be able to answer your questions for you. Today I won't be able to do that, so you'll need to tune into your body. As you rock over to the right, come back about 45 degrees. So instead of all the way over, look back 45 degrees. Again, take your chin up and down on those therapy balls right there in the back of the neck. Breathe into that space. The most important part of this is to stay present with those sensations that you're getting from your body. So as you rock anywhere into those tight spots, breathe, especially your exhale. It's going to let the body know what you're doing is in a space of relaxation and safety and letting go. So guide the reaction of the body with your breath, as always with yoga, right? But even more important with deeper work with therapy balls. Come back over to the center. So we've looked right, we've come back 45 degrees, now go all the way to the left. So big breaths, breathing in, breathing out, over to the left, all the way, feel in, lifting the chin up and down. As you rock over those knots in the muscles, you're kind of simulating a massage therapist. And then come back 45 degrees. Looking up and down. And then come back to center. And you can do a figure 8 with your head. So look down to the left, around and up, and then cross through down to the right, around and up. Moving nice and slow. Shri Krishna Gauri Hare Murari And then we're going to come away from the block. Set the block off to the side. Put the therapy balls right at the base of the neck, kind of right before your shoulders start. Again, even them out right over the spine. Walk your feet back in, and then we're going to adjust and lift your hips up for more pressure. If you have enough pressure right here, you can just kind of stretch the arms out, bring them in, Lifting your hips will just create more of that downward force, that leverage into the therapy balls to get a deeper massage. You can roll into the therapy balls. Woo, don't catch your hair or your shirt might get rolled up in it. Just have to keep adjusting it. Roll along the therapy balls and then back. You can scoot them down. Maybe an inch at a time and just hold too. So you get to choose rolling or holding, breathing for a few breaths, and then moving again. Remembering to come back to that exhale that's really slow and supportive. Once you get the therapy balls down between the shoulder blades, so they're right, I don't know if you can see them, they're right in that space where the rhomboids and the trapezius muscles are. Bring your arms in front of you, give yourself a little hug. You can rock here. Open up again, roll down. Big breath. And cross the arms, give yourself a hug. If you start to roll off your mat like that, you can just scooch back down. We're going to come to the upper part of the middle of the back. So scoot those therapy balls down a little bit more. Maybe scoot yourself back down. In the middle of the back, it doesn't help as much to lift your hips anymore. So now you can kind of do some crunches. Roll up and down. As you change the position of the therapy balls, you're working down the muscle. But as you move over the therapy balls, flexing and extending, flexing and relaxing the muscles. That's how we get into the fascia. The fascia is this thin, connective tissue through the whole body, around each muscle fiber, around each muscle group, connecting the different muscle groups together. And sometimes those can get really jumbled up. Your fascia can get really kind of tightened, kind of like cobwebs, but really angry cobwebs. So it's nice to create some movement in your massage work. Lifting and lowering. As we roll down, should be down around the lower part of the mid-back or the upper part of the low back. So as we roll over, moving, flexing and relaxing, and compression into the muscle, you're getting into your release of fascia a little bit more. So coming down into the low back now. So right there at the curve of the big lumbar curve, when you lay over that, unless you are using therapy balls that are bigger, like a tennis ball or something bigger, your therapy balls might kind of disappear into that lumbar curve. So now you can rock side to side to try to get into that little notch where your lower back muscles are. Your QL muscle that's at the low back kind of grows out onto your upper part of your hip bones and your low ribs. You can come into a happy baby here, so whether you're using the therapy balls or not, that might be a little much with the therapy balls depending on how your body's responding to this. But if you want to come in knees to chest or kind of a gentle happy baby, it's a way to rock over the therapy balls. And then we're gonna come down to the sacrum. So I'm right here in this hip area with the therapy balls. They're just right there. On either side of that triangle bone at the base, at the back of your hips, your pelvis. You can bring your knees in and roll them around. You can butterfly over this, rocking. So you're getting your attachment points on the edges of your sacrum and the muscles that come around your hips, your glutes, your hip rotators, they attach right there on that bone. And then set them off to the side for just a few breaths. We're going to come back to the hips and the rest of the body. Coming into just some movement. Big breath in with the arms. Take your feet out into a butterfly. Stretch. And then exhale, bend the elbows. Take your arms wide. Maybe if you've got some room on the floor around you. If you're squeezed in between couches and chairs, maybe just take your arms here. Bring your knees into your chest again. And wrap the arms around, push the knees into the arms, tuck the chin. Stretching out all those muscles we just massaged. And then release back down. Reach the legs straight up over the hips. Flex, point, check it in with your legs. And then happy baby, grab either at your ankles or your feet. Relax your shoulders, your head and your neck down. Maybe rock. We're gonna rock over to the right and drop that left foot. Holding your right foot in half happy baby, but relax that left leg. So just play with that left leg. Where does it feel good to let that settle? Stretch it out or bend. In our yoga stretch classes, sometimes we take a little longer in our postures, a little more time to explore what's going on with your body. And then come back through center and other side. Half happy baby to the left, drop the right leg. Center. Soles of the feet come together. Hold on to maybe your ankles or back up onto your shins. Relax the shoulders. And then if you'd like, you can come into a little fold here. This might feel good to stay right here, or you can reach between those legs and fold it up. Relaxing back down and release the feet into that butterfly again on the floor. Reach arms up. Exhale, arms to the sides. And then bring one hand to the heart and one hand to your belly. In yoga, sometimes we talk about the chakras, the energy clusters, centers down along our spine. And the intention of the lower part, the energy of the lower part of the body from the belly down, is more about centering and grounding yourself, knowing all of the balance with your life, your personality, your feelings of stability and safety, and who you are. And then the upper, from your belly, your ribs, up through the top of the head, out into the arms, is more of an intention and an energy of how you connect with the world. And from that space of safety and stability, from groundedness to expansiveness. Feel that shift just for a few more breaths between taking care of yourself and being able to be there for others, between our basic needs and our kind of bigger, higher purpose needs. Balancing those two out. One more breath. And then release the arms. We're going to come into a twist. So extend your right leg out long on the mat. Bend your left leg. You can even shift your right hip under a little bit if you want. Bring your left knee across the body. And then we're going to look back to the left. If any of the music cuts out, or if you can't hear music, you can always put something relaxing on in the background. Today I just picked the artist Masood Ali Khan, who plays the handpan, and then in Spotify you can choose to go to the artist's radio, and then it will play similar music to that, and it'll just kind of throw out some relaxing meditation or yoga music of your choice. Rolling on to your right side, you might need to recenter, and you can bring a block or a blanket under your head. You're going to come into a quad stretch. So on that same side as the twist, bring the right leg back a little bit. Maybe shift your hip under you so you can get that knee to come back. So if I look down, I can't see that knee anymore. And then reach for that left foot. If that reach for the bottom leg is awkward, if it's too much, if your knee doesn't do things that way, you can grab the top leg if that's better for your body. So relax head and neck. Find a way to create a quad stretch that is relaxing for you. Challenge it, lengthen the muscle fibers, create something that works, and breathe. Squeeze in just a little more glutes. The heel of the foot is coming back to the glutes. And then release. Come around to the other side. So, left leg's gonna extend long. You're sort of on your left hip, but not quite all the way yet. Bend your right knee. Bring it across the body and then look back to your right. Big breath in, and then as you exhale, settle in to that twist. breathe in, notice where anything's holding on that is able to let go into this stretch. Big breath. Then we're going to keep going onto that left side. Reach for that bottom leg, scoop the knee back a little bit. Reach for the foot. One more breath, big breath in, squeeze the heel to the glutes a little bit more, and exhale. When you're ready, come back around. Find your way to the middle of the mat again. You lost it. So coming into a little bit of hip stretch, and then we'll use the therapy balls on the hips. So right ankle comes up and over that left knee. If you've done any of these other classes with me, I think the other day I did one where you could go to the wall and do this one, where your foot is up on the wall. You scoot your hips all the way to the baseboard and then slide your foot down the wall, and it'll create a deep stretch here. If you don't have a wall accessible, then reach and bring that leg in without the wall. Staying here longer than usual today so you can really get a good stretch. Maybe a little side to side exploration. Left foot back down again, reach the right one up, and then swing it out to the side. Just check in with the range of motion. Go through the whole circle, all the way back down. Shake that leg out a little bit. And then switch to the other side, bend the right leg, lift the left, stretch it, and then cross ankle over knee. If you're at the wall, you're just switching, and this time your other foot's going to slide down the wall. Or if you're out on the floor, bringing that right knee in, reach for the thigh or the shin. Maybe explore play side to side. You're exploring that space in the joint or the attachments of the muscles, and not like you're forcing something that shouldn't be going that direction. So make sure the way you're approaching your stretch is working for your body. Making adjustments to whatever I'm guiding if it's not fitting for you. Release down, reach that left leg up and out. Swing it all the way around. Rock it out. So we're going to bring those therapy balls back into play. They're going to go right under your hip. And you can do this on your side, just kind of lying like this. rocking into the therapy balls, come back. So it's gonna be right where a pocket would be on the back of your pants, or way up high, right up here. You've got your gluteus medius trigger point. So it's right out to the edge of your hip at the top. Or you could be down low. You can also get a little bit more pressure if you come up to your elbow or your hand. And then same thing, therapy balls go right under that hip. This way you can add that kind of fascial movement, fascial release movement. So you can bend the knee in, straighten, kind of bicycle, or you can rotate the foot out and in. So you're turning that femur bone open, kind of rotating it open and closed. This one's a doozy if you've got some really tight muscles. So notice if you're crunching up your face or if you're squeezing and holding your breath, then you've gone a little too far with the pressure. You need to back off until you can really breathe into it. Change the position of the therapy balls. Every few breaths, explore a new space. Side. So you can just roll to your other side, or I'm just going to switch the direction on my mat so I can still face you. Same thing, decide if you want to lie down with less pressure, if you want to be sitting up. Notice your range of breath, breathing in, maybe intensify the pressure as you breathe out. If you're thinking, maybe I can handle more, try it on the exhale. Maybe some range of motion, flexing, relaxing through the muscles as you work through the therapy balls. Really nice in between massages, but they always make me realize an actual massage. So right now, with that not being so possible, it's nice to have a little tool at home to get you through, working on some of those spots that might be acting up on you. Right. Coming through that last little bit, and if this is the spot that really hurts on you, so if you're still working on that left side, or if you want to go back to the right side, you can always just catch up with this video later and work on what is calling to you. So coming into a seated position, we're going to work through the hamstrings. And before we do that, we'll just check in with them. So sitting up nice and tall, flex the toes in, engage. So as soon as you bring your feet in, you've like lengthened already just a little bit. Sit up so that your bones of your spine are right over your sits bones. And then come forward with a flat back. So you're not really rounding, you're not trying to accomplish any kind of reach really far. Just flat back. See where your hamstrings are tension-wise today. And unless you were exercising a lot right before this class, then they might be kind of like cold and tight. So check in nice and slow with them. Work your ribs towards your thighs. Really hinge at the hip sockets way back here. You can bend the knees a little bit. And then come back up. So the therapy balls go right underneath the thigh bone, way up at the attachment points of the muscles. And sometimes I like to do this one with the other leg bent, just kind of like rocks that hip down, gives me a little kickstand support as I fold over this. You can bend in. If you have a yoga strap and that helps, or a dish towel or a shirt or something, you can reach it around your foot and pull yourself into this. So you're stretching and rolling the therapy balls at the same time. Roll down a little bit more. Another way to explore your hamstrings with therapy balls is to take that femur bone and you're gonna rock it side to side. To do that, you just tip your toes out, tip your toes in, rolling over the therapy balls. And then you're gonna get the 3 different bellies, the different attachment points. On the outer edge, the middle, and on the inner edge. You can also flex and point over the therapy balls. Rolling it down just a little at a time, finishing off that left side. And then switch. So again, this is a perfect example of if you don't have the therapy balls and you're following along and you haven't given up yet. This one, you're stretching your hamstrings either way. So if you don't have the therapy balls, this is a nice slow way to explore each thigh group. Point and flex as you fold a little bit, or rotating the foot in and out as you stretch and fold. With or without the therapy balls is a good practice. Really trying not to round too much in the back. We just disengage from the hips. If the hips tuck in, then you've stopped lengthening the hamstring attachment points because they're on the sits bones. The hip sockets are the femur bone and the hips connecting, and so your muscle goes over that joint. And if you take the hips out of the picture by rounding the back, you're not feeling that same stretch. Easing those therapy balls down a little at a time, wherever you're at. When you find spots and you're like, oh, that side's tighter right there, or that spot, then stay there and breathe. Take a few breaths in and out. little bit more movement. And set the therapy balls off to the side. Coming up to all fours. Walk up onto your mat a little bit and stretch the back of the leg that you just worked. Rock it out, side to side. Push through the foot, stretch even the calves, hamstrings. Lift and switch it over to the side. Kind of bring your foot over to your left, cross behind, and look over your left shoulder. And then come back, swing that leg around. So we're gonna point the foot forward. And you can rock back and forth. You can bring your elbows down to a block or the floor. If it feels good, you can walk your hands over towards that leg. Switch. So I'm going to turn to the side a little so you can see me. You're just going to take that left leg out behind. Same thing. Push into the calves. And then swing it over. Tuck that foot. Look over the shoulder. Big stretch through the low back, the side body. And then swing that leg out to the side. Same thing, rock back and forth so your foot is pointing forward. Explore that hip socket. Option to walk the hands towards the leg. And then come back to center, taking your first downward facing dog. So maybe scoot your things out of the way if they were all over the place there. Tuck your toes, spread the fingers, lift. And just gentle with your down dog today. Maybe widen it, maybe shorten it, bending your knees a little bit. Play around with your back, your legs that you've been working. As we come into our down dog, you want to create a long back. So your back and your arms aren't rounding and compressing and bending through your wrists a lot. We want them to be pushing away from the hands. Drop that head, maybe shake it out. Take it wide as the mat and rock through those hip sockets. Come back in and bring your right foot up. You can even come to your knee first and bring the right foot up. Drop that back knee. And just kind of rock it out a little bit. Come forward. Start to lengthen through the spine. Lift up through the top of the head. And then bring your hands up to your knee. Feel the sits bones point directly opposite of the top of the head. Feel that length, that line of energy through the body. Start to let the hips relax into position. And then if you'd like, you can add the arms. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bring the elbows out to the sides. Big breath in. And then exhale, release down. Twist, left hand down, right arm comes up. exercise before this, if you're feeling really warm, there's an option to reach back for that foot for an added quad stretch. If you're feeling cold and stiff right now, that might not be a great one. We did already do the quad stretch on our side, so if you want to throw this in, you can. If you want to stay here in this twist, you can. Play with what feels good. And then release the hand, reach that right foot back. Move it out a little bit. And then other side. Explore back and forth, 2 or 3 breaths, wherever you're at, and then slide forward. Start to come up, but really reach those sits bones down and reach the top of the head up. Lift long through the torso. My back toes are tucked, but you can leave your foot flat. You can have your blanket under your knees at this point. And then with that long spine, inhale and lift the arms. Exhale, elbows bend. Inhale, open the heart a little more. And then exhale, release down. Same options here, take your twist, and then maybe add the quad stretch. Release back to center. Swing that left foot back. Take the knees really wide here. Toes touch in the back. Child's pose or puppy pose. So child's pose is where your hips go back to your heels and you reach the arms out. If that's not comfortable to bring your head to the floor, you can bring it to a block. Pillow if you're home, you can make this a restorative child's pose and get a few pillows and just fold over them. Puppy pose is an option that's a nice stretch on your mid-back, your hips stay in the air. It's also a nice break for your knees or ankles if that child's pose was too much. From here, taking a little twist. So if you're in child's pose or puppy pose, take your right arm underneath your left shoulder and slide it onto the ground, opening the heart. So your twist is opening the heart the opposite way. Inhale, back through center, and switch. Left arm comes down along the floor. Really important to deep breathe in your twists. Allow that squeezing and wringing out to be supported with the breath. And come back through center. So we're going to come into calf work with the therapy balls and shin work. You can also do just kind of sit in hero's pose, this kneeling pose, and work through your arms. You can take some movement, maybe eagle or maybe cow face arms, reaching your hands towards each other. If you'd rather work on your shoulder girdle and stretching through the arms, that's what you're going to do right now. Otherwise, we're going to come into therapy ball work. Lift up and over. tuck the therapy balls behind the knee, and then you can decide how much pressure to put onto those therapy balls. Settling in, maybe rock side to side. Breathing in. So as you come down to, let me see what this question is. Somebody says my music's too loud. It's hard to get it right at home because I can't hear what you can hear. So, squeezing back onto those smaller parts. You might need to take one therapy ball only over the spot you're working on. The foot can be flexed in the back, or it can be flat. So same thing if you have more pressure and pain or something going on the right side, stay there a little longer. Otherwise, we're gonna come over to the left. Funny, the first few times I did this, I couldn't hear the music at all when I watched it back again, so maybe I overcorrected today and had it too loud. Breathing into that calf work, squeezing into the muscles with however much pressure you need. And then moving into work on the shins, the other side. So up and over, the therapy balls will go on either side of that shin bone. Then you can just adjust the pressure to how you want, rolling over the therapy balls, or you can sit on them and kind of rock into a spot if it feels good. All the way over the ankle and foot. You can kind of cause cramping if you're using too much pressure through this one, especially. So make sure you're not going too hard. All the way over the toes and the foot if it feels like it's a good idea for your body today. And then the other side. Judging by the response of your body as you move down through that ankle and foot. Right over the top. So finishing that out, and then we're going to come to the quads before we finish with a little bit of stretching. We don't have a lot of time for the quads. So I'll just kind of show you, and then you can keep doing it at home if you're really loving this. Come down to your elbows. You hover over kind of where the hip socket is. You can rock it out to the side. Roll up, kind of like army crawls. We're just kind of sliding over those therapy balls. You can go all the way to your side and do your IT band area. And it would be the same thing on the other side. Just for time, I'm giving you a few little tidbits of how it works with the quads. time's sake, we're going to come back down to the floor for a few breaths. Rolling down, knees to chest. Circle. Windshield wiper. Butterfly, whatever feels good. Big stretch, breathe in, reach the arms overhead, stretch your legs long, reach, wiggle your fingers and toes, and then exhale, come into your Shavasana, that final relaxation pose where you get to be comfy. Maybe you want the blanket under your knees instead of under your head. Come into an intention to finish your practice with something you've been working on and soften it so that it feels like a place of non-judgment. It feels like a safe space for you to be. If it's courage or peace or not being afraid, releasing, trusting in, like releasing that fear, feeling trust in where your life's at right now. Gratitude. You can come back to one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Breathe into balance. If you'd like, you can choose to stay right there and relax. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Marianne. I saw a few other people earlier. Hi to them too. I didn't get to come look. So, staying in your Shavasana if you'd like, as long as you want. Breathing into that space of gratitude for your body as it is right now. For everything you do have in your life, even if you're feeling some parts of the week, some parts of the day, fear and lack. Give yourself space to not feel those right now. Give yourself space to feel abundance and beauty and light and gratitude. Big breath in and out. Thank you for taking care of yourselves. Whenever you do watch this, whether it's right now with me or later, namaste.